Let's apply to Treasure Valley Community College. We'll start on the Oregon Goes to College website. From the College Info menu tab, choose Apply to College. That will take us to a page that has a lot of really good information about what we need to do to prepare before we even sit down to apply, including a list of documents or materials we may need to gather in order to be ready to apply, and some tips and tricks for making sure that we do so successfully. Since I already know that I'm planning to apply to Treasure Valley and I've gathered all of the information I know I'm going to need, I can scroll down to the table that has a list of all of the colleges in Oregon and scroll until I find Treasure Valley. And click on this link and it will take me directly to the college's website. Now, I'm planning to graduate in June of 2021 and I will be attending college for the first time after that. So I am this first-time college student and I can go ahead and click Apply Now. We'll start by creating an account for the application portal, and we'll start with our name, and we want to make sure that this is our legal name, so that's the name that shows up on official documents like a transcript or a driver's license if we have one, and provide an email address that is the address that we're using for all of our college materials, so the one that we also are going to make sure that we're checking on a pretty regular basis. Okay, I'll choose a password that I know I will remember. I also am going to make sure that I write that down so that I don't forget it. And so I'll write it in a safe place. Okay, and I'm going to choose to enter my phone number here as well and create my new account. Once we've set up our account, we'll be brought to this page that's called our admissions dashboard, and this is where we can start our application. So we'll go ahead and click there. And we see that a few things have already been filled in, and also on the left-hand side it looks like there are going to be 3 different tasks that we have. So 3 different pages where we need to fill some information in. And it looks like if there is a red bar on the field entry spot, that means that this is a question that is required. We must answer it in order to move on. If that red bar doesn't exist, it is not required, but there might be a good reason to provide that information. Now, some things have already been filled in from when we created our account, so our first name, and just checking to make sure that that's our legal name. We can provide a middle name. Last name's already there, and a preferred name is the one that we want people at the college to call us. So for me, I do have one of those and I'm going to provide it. And here we are being asked for our birth date using a calendar, and we can choose the year, the month, mine is January, and the date. Questions about gender, this is not a required question, but we can choose to answer it with preferring not to answer or simply leave it blank. So we get to make those choices. And then we have this question about Social Security number. Now, it is not required to have a Social Security number to attend Treasure Valley, nor is it required to have one to apply. However, if you do have one and you are planning to apply for federal financial aid, now is a good time to enter that information. So that it's just much easier to do that now than to go back and do it later. So go ahead and enter your Social Security number there. You'll, of course, want to read through all of the information that is provided. Next question is about citizenship status. So again, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen, but you are required to provide your citizenship status, so to let them know whether or not you are. And the same is true of this question about being a member of the military, and for me the answer is no. Questions about race and ethnicity are optional. I'm going to choose to answer them. These are questions that the college is required to ask, but you are not required to answer. But they can use this information to direct you to services that may be of interest to you. And so if you feel comfortable answering them, it's not a bad idea to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for myself. And then we start to fill in our contact information. And my mailing address, I will fill in there, and then I have an apartment number, and so that's a good thing to add in the second line. City and state, and I'll scroll down to Oregon and the zip code. Make sure I get it right. Check to make sure that is my correct email address and my phone number. They're asking if they can text me using my mobile phone number, and the reason for that is they might have some reminders or some notifications that they just want to make sure that I know that are related to my application, and so I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And then this question, is my mailing address the same as my permanent address? And so I provided up here the address where I want my mail to go, and then they're asking about my permanent address. Is this the place that I consider to be my home? And where I live and will continue for the future. So I can go ahead and say yes or no if that's true for you. If you say no, let's see what happens. They will ask you to enter information about your permanent address, and so you'll need to delete out the information that you've provided already and enter the new address in. And again, that's for your permanent address or where you live. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, that was correct, and save and continue. When we get to the next page, we can see on the left-hand side, we can see our progress. We've completed the My Profile, and there's a faint check mark here that allows us to see that we have done that, and we're now on this section about enrollment. And the question being asked here is, what is our main reason for attending Treasure Valley? And so this is a question about, are you planning to earn your associate's degree, for example? And for us, the answer is yes, I'm planning to attend to earn my associate's degree, but you may have a different reason, and you'll choose the one that is right for you. There are definitions here of all of those reasons, so you can read through those and choose the appropriate one for you. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that, and then it's going to ask me some questions about my previous college or university experience. And for me, I have never attended college before, and they're asking this question about, have you attended after you graduated from high school? So if you're a high school student, as you're filling this out, your answer will be, no, I have not attended college or university before. They're not asking about college credits that you've earned while in high school. Then they are asking whether or not your parents have attended college. So at least one of my parents have attended some college. For me, the answer is no. Neither of my parents have attended college, so I will say no to that. But if one of your parents has attended college, you'll say yes. Save and continue, and we'll move on to the third page. And we can see on the left-hand side that we have now a few more things that we're going to be providing information about, and we are now on, we're still looking at enrollment classification, and they're asking what type of applicant we are, and again, because we've never attended college before, we are a freshman, and we have not applied to TVCC before, but if you have, you could go ahead and say yes, but for me the answer is no. This next set, they're asking about our interest in academics and when we plan to start, and just sort of what's our plan. And so what are we interested in studying? For me, it's an associate's degree. It might be a certificate for you, so choose the one that is correct. And that's going to lead to them wanting to know what type of associate's degree. And so again, there are some instructions, definitions here you'll want to read through to make your decision. And there is a good point here that mentions that if you aren't quite sure, then you should choose the Associate of Arts degree with the organ transfer emphasis. So that's what we're going to do, the Associate of Arts degree, and they're looking for an area of focus, and we're going to choose organ transfer. But if you have an idea of what you might like to study, you can scroll through this list and make that choice. For us, we're going to choose organ transfer. There are multiple campuses where we can take classes for Treasure Valley, and I'm going to stay on the main campus, but you might be choosing the Caldwell Center, and so you'll just choose the one that's correct for you. and they want to know when we plan to start. And our plan is to graduate in the spring of 2021, which means we would then enter in the fall of 2021. And they're wondering whether or not I'm interested in living on campus. And so there are residence halls on campus, and I can choose to live in them, or I can say no. And so for me, I'm going to go ahead and say no, but you could choose yes if that was your plan. And we can click Save and Continue. Okay, so this page is asking us about our background academically in high school. And so the question, do we have a GED or high school diploma? And the question is asking whether we will have one when we start. So will you have graduated from high school when you start? And the answer is yes. And I do not plan to transfer college credits to TVCC, but if you plan to, you could go ahead and say yes here, but I will say no. And they want to know what high school we attend. And so it's going to ask us to start typing that in and choose when our high school shows up. So I'm going to go down and look for my high school. Now I'm going to notice there are two Corvallis high schools. One is in Oregon, one is in Montana. So I'm going to choose the one that is right for me. So just check to make sure if you see more than one high school with your high school's name. If you don't find your high school in the list, you can check this box and it will allow you to type that information in. And the graduation date is going to be in 2021. And I can go down and find that. And it'll be in June, and I don't know the exact date, so I'm going to choose June 1st, and that will be okay. I don't know the exact date of my graduation, but if I did, I would choose that. Save and continue. Now they're interested in knowing whether or not I'm planning to apply for federal financial aid, and the reason they're asking that is to make sure that they can connect the applications, the financial aid application, with my admissions application, and make sure that they are just making all the connections between the pieces of information that they're getting from me. And then they are letting us know that there are scholarships available through the TVCC Foundation and wanting to know if we want to apply for those scholarships. And it's always a good idea to apply for scholarships. And so we say yes and save and continue. Then there are a few other questions that they are wondering about. The first one is whether parents worked as migrant or seasonal workers in agriculture, and for me the answer is no, but if the answer is yes for you, you'll want to say that. Same with athletics, whether you want to participate or not, and if you might be interested in any student leadership positions. They're asking these questions so that they can make sure to get us information as soon as possible about any services that might be available, or clubs, or in the case of athletics, to get us connected to coaches. And so it's important to answer those questions so that we can get started as soon as possible. And we can save and continue. And we are at the final submit page. And so here we are going to type our name into the box, and typing our name is our signature, and it does ask us to type our full legal name, so make sure that that's your first, middle, and last name, and the date that we have done this. I think we're going to scroll all the way down. Scroll all the way down, and no, it's 2020. And it's September, and so you'll choose the date that's right for you, and then we click this box after we can say yes, everything that I've written in this application is true, it's accurate to the very best of my knowledge. Check that box, and then I'll click submit. And when I do that, I have applied to Treasure Valley Community College, and so have you. Congratulations.